There is something strange about the Indian mind. We are some of the brightest people in the world, yet somehow we doubt ourselves the most. We can build rockets to Mars, but can't take a step in life without seeking someone's approval. Why is that? Just imagine a 17-year-old staying awake till 3 am solving calculus problem. Not because he loves math, but because 1.4 million other students are competing for 17,000 seats. This is India, 1.4 billion people, the world's largest democracy, and maybe the biggest psychological experiment humanity has ever seen. But how did we get here? How did a system built nearly 2 centuries ago still decide what success means today? You may think I am here to tell you our education system is broken, but the fact is, you already know that. What I want to show you is something deeper. How growing up in this system actually changes your brain physically, and what that means for a billion people. Right now, at this point of time, over 250 million students, more than the population of Brazil, are enrolled in Indian schools. And nearly all of them are learning the same thing: conform or fail. But here is the twist: this system wasn't designed by Indians, it was designed by a British in 1835 by a man named Thomas Babington Macaulay. His goal, and I quote, to create a class of persons, Indians in blood and color, but English in taste, in opinions, in morals, and in intellect. This was 190 years ago. India is independent now, but the system? It barely changed. Our Indian education system still stands on 3 pillars: memorization, competition, and conformity. Just imagine, you are 6 years old, first day of school. The teacher asks, "What color is the sky?" You say, "Orange," because yesterday's sunset was beautiful. Wrong. The answer is blue. -1 mark. Sounds small, right? But here is what just happened inside your brain. It learned there is only one right answer. The teacher's answer. The textbook's answer. Creativity? That's just a fancy word for wrong answer that wastes time. And that is how it begins, the quiet rewiring of creativity. Psychologists call this convergent thinking, the ability to find the single correct answer. It is useful for standardized tests, but here the problem? It is the opposite of innovation. And innovation requires divergent thinking, the ability to generate multiple solutions, to question assumptions, and to explore the unconventional. And the important part is, for 12 critical years of brain development, the Indian education system systematically trains that instinct out of the children. And when you are told again and again, questioning is disrespect. The data backs this up. In 2025 Global Innovation Index, India ranked 38th out of 139 countries, and it is despite having the world's largest youth population. For every million people, India produces around 40 patents, whereas South Korea over 3,000 and China more than 1,000. This has never been about intelligence. Indians dominate global tech companies. The CEOs of Google, Microsoft, Adobe, IBM, all Indian. The question here is, why do they have to leave India to succeed? Because here, the system doesn't train you to innovate. It trains you to remember, to repeat, and to compete. You may think it is up to that, but the real cost of this conditioning is not visible in classrooms. It is visible in the cities that feed off these dreams. Now, I need to take you somewhere. This is Kota, Rajasthan. Looks like any other city, right? Wrong. This is a factory, a dream factory, or depending on who you ask, a nightmare factory. Every year, 150,000 teenagers move here, away from home, away from their parents. They live in tiny rooms, study for 14 hours a day, and prepare for one exam, the JEE, the Joint Entrance Examination, the ticket to IIT. And in Indian middle class imagination, an IIT degree is everything. It is the golden ticket. The numbers are brutal. 1.5 million applicants, 17,000 seats. That's a 1% acceptance rate. For context, Harvard's acceptance rate is 3.7% and Stanford's it is 3.9%. But here is the darkest statistic. Between 2015 and 2025, over 144 students died by suicide in Kota alone. The psychological term for what these students have experienced is chronic stress-induced anxiety, when a fight or flight mode never turns off. There is a part in your brain called amygdala. It is your fear center. Under constant stress, it goes into overdrive, always on, always panicking. Meanwhile, your prefrontal cortex, the part that makes rational decisions and controls emotions, actually shrinks. And you may think this is metaphorical, but the reality is MRI studies show structural changes in brains of people under chronic stress. According to research published in Asian Journal of Psychiatry, 70% of students reported moderate to high levels of anxiety, stress, and depression. But in this case, we have to note they are only 16 to 17 years of age. But here is what is fascinating from a psychological perspective. These students are not just victims, they are true believers. When interviewed, most students say they choose this path. They want to make their parents proud. They want financial security. They have internalized the system's logic so deeply that they can't imagine an alternative. Psychologists call this internalized oppression, and that is how generations of brilliance turns into generations of self-doubt. When the oppressed enforce their own oppression, they enforce their own cage. And once that cage feels normal, freedom starts to feel unsafe.